Hello, my name is Dale Wilhite. I'm right now at home near Panama City, Florida, and hope to be in Wyoming real soon. Anyhow, this is about truck driving schools, and I'm going to give you some idea of what happens at them, and I'm going to have to be brief, and I'm going to have to talk a little bit fast, like I always do, because I don't have much time. Uh, the truck driving school that I went to was called Washington Homes VOTEC, which is located in Chipley, Florida. I went in between September and November of 1990. It was a technical college where I paid only $269. It was one of three schools in the United States that was recognized by most trucking companies. When I got out, I graduated. I went to work for McKinsey Tank Lines out of Mobile, Alabama, and then later on I went to work for J.B. Hunt out of Atlanta, Georgia. Uh, Most of these trucking companies you see out there are not worth the time. Any school that charges $3, $4, $5,000, don't waste your time. Uh, the first thing you need to do when you want to become, if you decide you want to look for a school, you need to call up the trucking companies and ask them what schools they would recommend and that they would hire you from. Of course, you may want to do some research on the internet first yourself, but make sure everything's up to date. But I would still call the trucking companies, at least in the end, before you decide which one to go to, and get their recommendation. Now, let me also add that some trucking companies will hire some people, some drivers, who have never been to a school, and they'll train you themselves or train them themselves, and you get paid for it. Uh, I don't know how that works. I've never done that, but they do that from time to time. I've met a few truck drivers in my time that's how they were trained. That saves you a whole lot of money, and so that's something to keep in mind. But let me go back to something else. Remember, don't waste your time with these fly-by-night trucking schools. A lot of them are no good. They're thieves. They get shut down after a certain amount of time because you don't get much experience in the classroom, or excuse me, on the road. And trucking companies want students who have been on the road for at least 50 hours, sometimes up to 500 hours. And then when I went to, I think we were required to have at least 50 hours behind the wheel. Okay, at the trucking school, the first 3.5 weeks that I was there, we studied for our CDL. And, we'd learn other little things, rules, all that kind of stuff, and then you take the test. You got to pass the test or you don't graduate. I think they'll let you take it again on certain parts. In the CDL test, there are two parts that are very hard. That is a hazmat and the general. You can get on the internet now, something we didn't have, and you can learn all about the hazmat and the general and the CDL even before you attend a trucking school and take the test. And that will be a great help. I wish I had that. I'm sure everybody in my class wish they had that, the internet back then to do that with, but you can do that now. And you can learn it even before you go there. Once you attend a trucking school, don't tell them that you know anything. Just act ignorant. Sometimes it's best not to say anything. Just learn it the way they want you to learn, or the way they want to teach it, and just go that way. Just keep silent. Okay, after about 3.5 weeks, you take your test, pass it. Okay, then they put you out on the road. And mostly the instructors, which we had two, their main job is just to make sure that we can drive on the road. We're safe. We're not crazed. We're not on drugs. We're not on booze. Uh, and just to prepare you to become a truck driver. You have to learn. They just have to learn, that you're not going to kill somebody out there. That you can actually handle these big rigs. Back when I was going, we only had 40, 45s, and 48s. I think now these days they would probably train you with a 40, 45, 48, and 53. Basically, they should just train everybody with a 53 because most trucking companies, long haul trucking companies, only have 53s. Although you do still have 48s, 45s, and 40s. Okay, once you get through that and they're satisfied, and you'll drive from town to town. You'll drive maybe across the state and things like that. You will go through at least one night, or where you'll get off late in the evening, let's say at 8 o'clock at night, like we did, and you got to come back at 4. That was because you got an 8-hour break back when I was going, and they want you to see what it's like to leave class and have to be back there exactly 8 hours later. I think today you get a 10-hour break, so it's a little bit different. I would have loved a 10-hour break back then. Then they take you out onto an obstacle course, and you learn, your turns. You learn how to back up and forward. You learn how to shift gears. Well, you should already know how to shift gears, actually, because one of the things that can that get you in a lot of trouble is not knowing how to shift a gear, and you keep scratching it, or some people call scraping it. You can't be doing that. You got to learn to do it really smoothly and quickly. And what they did, they gave us 500 points on our test day. And that test day is the driving part. That's the second test, and the final test. And on that one, if you go under 350, you flunk. And basically, you're just going to be doing turns, backing up, showing you can back up and go forward. And you can make sharp turns and and pull up, just the basic stuff. And everybody passed. Now, keep in mind that truck driving schools are really not to train you to be a truck driver. Don't get that. You're wrong if you think you go to a truck driving school and because you passed, that makes you a truck driver. No, it don't. Uh, it's basically to prepare you to be a truck driver. It doesn't make you one. You're just being prepared. It's a trucking company that hires you. It's going to be the one that does the training. I went on with McKinsey. McKinsey supervisor took me out there. We rode all around Mobile, came back, and you're a driver. That was it. But most trucking companies will take you out for about 6 weeks, and that's something to remember. Now, keep in mind that if you do get hired on as a long haul driver, for every week that you're out, you get 1 day off. So the average is 6 to 8 weeks. So if you're out for 6 weeks, you only got 6 days off, then you got to go back to work again. Keep that in mind. But you don't have to be a long haul driver. You can be a bus driver, like I went on to be later on, 10 years. You can work a trucking route where you're only out a few days at a time. There are those. Drive a Coca-Cola truck, a Pepsi truck, you can drive all kinds of stuff. And not have to be a long haul driver. And that way you can be home more if you got a wife or girlfriend, or if you're a girl and you got a boyfriend or husband, that way you see them a lot more. If you want to see them a lot more. Some drivers I've met out there, they like staying out on the road year round because they don't have to go home. They don't want to go home. Anyhow, that's just the basis of what would happen in a truck driving school. And that's something to keep in mind. And keep in mind that 1 out of 100 truck drivers are the only ones who will make it for a year. The rest, 99, will not survive a year. It's hard out there. That's why I became a bus driver. That's just too much. You're just gone. You're out there. You have no life. And the money you make for the first 4 or 5 years ain't going to be much anyhow. Back then I was making like 31 cents a mile. I think it's now like 32, 33 cents a mile. So it ain't a whole lot of money. But like I say, you still take a truck driving course, and it will help you in other areas. Like I said, Coca-Cola, Pepsi trucks, short runs, driving a truck, for even a dump truck, anything. It helps. It helps to have that truck driving course. It helped me become a bus driver. And I drove in Colorado in ice and snow. Down mountains, big mountains. Anyhow, just stay away from the fly-by-night trucking schools. Please stay away from that. And check for the technical colleges. That's your best bet. The other thing I'm trying to come up with here to help you out, research this very carefully. But if I could get onto a trucking company back then that would have trained me themselves, that's what I would have done. You're better off that way. But check, because they might do that, but then they might make you pay for it out of your paycheck. So I would check to see which is cheaper. A technical college, of course, you have to pay rent and all that stuff. If you get a motel room or apartment for a month, 2 months. My course was 8 weeks long. You have to take all that into consideration. Is it really worth it? But do not go by these fly-by-night trucking schools. Most of them have been shut down. They're always popping up somewhere else, and they just take your money and nothing else. The trucking companies want people that have been behind the wheel and so forth. Oh, and last thing. When you're in trucking, when you're in taking that course, keep this in mind. That if you get a ticket driving just your own car or even driving the truck, you're finished. They will fire you. Or, well, they will not let you continue. You're pretty much out of the class. You are out of the class. 2 students ahead of us, when I was going, got sent home after getting a speeding ticket while they're racing down to McDonald's. You're finished. Keep that in mind. So you got to have a pretty good record. And if you're a boozer or a drug addict and stuff like that, don't apply. And get yourself into a whole lot of trouble. This is one of the reasons why we had a hard time getting bus drivers where I live at, because half the people there that applied for the job couldn't pass the drug test. That's how bad our society's become with all these illegal drugs and things like that. Anyhow, I hope this information helped you out some. Research everything out very carefully. You have an advantage that I didn't have. And again, you don't have to be a long haul driver. There's other type of trucks you can drive that are shorter and ones where you can be home more often. And that's the ones I would strongly suggest, because being out there all the time, it ain't no fun. Thank you for your time. I hope this helps you out some. I'm just trying to be helpful, nothing more. Bye.